Hi everyone, today I wanted to talk a little bit about my 840 liter reef tank. As you can see, it's a kind of disaster. There is a lot of cyanobacteria on the bottom. This tank is relatively new actually. It was started like about 6 months ago at the time of filming. And since then I transferred some corals from an old aquarium. I had some smaller stony corals in addition to those soft corals that you can see. And yeah, the stony corals were not doing very good. Most of them died. Actually, what I have left is only Montipora capricornis. I didn't know what was going on until I sent samples for ICP testing. There are a lot of marine aquarium companies where you can nowadays do ICP testing. You basically send samples of your aquarium water and they test for around 40 different water parameters, both essential elements and macro elements like calcium, magnesium and so on. So the results that I got back from ICP testing were alarming. Some of the macro element values were too high, so sodium, magnesium, sulfur, calcium, potassium and bromine had too high values. So magnesium and calcium I used to test with Salifert tests. It turns out that those tests showed too low values. But then I wondered why sodium, sulfur, potassium and bromine are too high, and I came to the conclusion first that potassium is too high because I dosed quite a lot of potassium nitrate and potassium phosphate, because nitrate and phosphate values were very low in this tank because it's a large aquarium and I only have few fish, so that's the reason for increased potassium levels. And then I thought about what happened with sodium, sulfur and bromine. And I came to the conclusion that at some point I wanted to experiment with Kalkwasser in order to increase the pH, because I bought a computer that controls pH. I saw that sometimes pH is under 8, so I wanted to use this Kalkwasser to maintain high pH. And so I stopped using the Balling method, which is a kind of balanced method of buffering the water capacity to maintain pH and to add calcium to the water and microelements. So I stopped using the buffer solution and calcium solution, but the salt solution, the salt without sodium chloride, continued to be dosed, and this salt contains sulfur and bromine. Unfortunately, it wasn't the end of the problems with water parameters in this reef tank. So the ICP tests showed that a lot of essential elements are missing in the water. Iodine, molybdenum, nickel, vanadium, manganese, zinc, cobalt, barium, they were all missing, and this is, I think, because I actually didn't do any water changes during this period. I didn't see much coral growth during this period, but I realize now that I really had a vigorous growth of coralline algae after I started to adding Kalkwasser. So probably those coralline algae that covered everything sucked in all of those essential elements. So the first thing that I wanted to do to mitigate all those problems with water parameters was to do a large water change. I prepared over 100 liters of reverse osmosis water and added reef salt. Another problem that I have, so to speak, is too many bubble tip anemones. I bought one 6 years ago, and since then they divided many times. I sold maybe 30 already, but I have like maybe 40-50 left. I keep them in a sump because they are a bit of a problem in the main tank. They wander and burn other corals. Right now turning off main pump, return pump and circulation pumps and the skimmer in order to do a large water change. And here I mark how much water can I take out of the tank so that I have enough water to replenish it with freshly made salt water. And this time actually I decided to not only siphon out the cyanobacteria that is developing on the gravel, I decided to siphon out all of the gravel, to get rid of all of the gravel. For most part of my reef keeping hobby during the last 17 years I think already, I have usually had bare bottom tanks, so tanks without any gravel or sand on the bottom. I wanted to have gravel in this aquarium, however, to look really nice it needs to be maintained really regularly, so each week or at least once every 2 weeks you have to vacuum clean all of the sand, and it has been really difficult in this aquarium since it has such a large area. So as a result, the nutrients were building up in the substrate, driving the growth of algae, not only cyanobacteria. I also had some green algae as well on the gravel. So I changed the scraper blade and I'm ready to scrape the algae. And here I'm gathering gravel to take it out. What I can say is that it was really a painstaking process and took a really long time, couple of hours. To be more meticulous, I used a power head to blow the gravel out of all the crevices. And here I'm working on the other side of the tank. So basically, as you can see, it was a total mess. A word of advice from me is don't do such procedures too often on your aquariums. Both fish and corals get very stressed. It takes many days for corals to recover and initiate growth again. Finally, after a long time, it was time to remove the last remains of the gravel. Then I used a scraper to clean the bottom and side panels and filled the aquarium with water. As you can see, it didn't look good in the beginning, really cloudy. Then it was time to turn on the circulation and return pump. The anemones in the sump weren't happy that the water level dropped again. And then it was time to turn on the skimmer and help with all the water impurities. And sure enough, water became crystal clear on the next day. Some corals kept falling down from the rockwork, so I used a 2-part epoxy glue to keep them in place. Unfortunately, in this case I used too little glue and the whole construction collapsed the next day. Next thing to improve the water parameters was to replenish the missing essential elements. So as you can see, I obtained all of the missing elements and I dosed them for the next 5 days in order to achieve the desired levels. Although I did a large water change of over 100 liters, this aquarium is large, so it was around maximum 15% of all the water volume in aquarium. So I didn't expect the water change to replenish all the essential elements. There were still some cyanobacteria left on the rocks, and I hope that the new maintenance schedule will help to get rid of them. I plan to do regular water changes at least once every 2 weeks, about 10-15%, and we will see if this helps. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. There will be more videos coming, both about the reef tank and my freshwater aquariums. So make sure to subscribe and like. See you later.
Hey,